TV show and he does makeup.
Sweet. I wish I could get my makeup like that. I've seen pictures of you. I think you do a good job on your makeup. Yeah, I do an okay job. It's not amazing. Because I do it in like 5 minutes. That's fun. You're going to be kicking it tonight, right? Yeah. Awesome. Cool. That's so cool. So hard to see when I wake up.
Right, did you just wake up?
Yeah.
Say hi to the camera.
Hi, camera.
Tell the camera what you think of Ryan's band.
I think that Ryan's band is zombie-rific, and they're amazing. You should check them out and buy all their records. That's what I think.
Blaring Out Show. This is the Blaring Out with Eric Blair Show, and today we're here with Ryann Donnelly, vocalist for Schoolyard Heroes.
That's the most exciting introduction I've ever received in my entire life. Thank you.
Cool. Tell me about this tour and how it came to be.
We've been friends with the boys in Aiden for quite some time. They're old pals. We grew up in Seattle together. Sort of, when I say grow up, I mean sort of in reference to starting to play shows around the city and starting to make music and be excited about that. It's really great to be out on this tour, and the shows have been wonderful. It's like about a week in at this point, and yeah, it's been going great.
Did you always want to be in a band?
I kind of got obsessed with rock music and the idea of the performance, the kind of performance that rock music lends itself to, the sort of Iggy Pop craziness and that sort of thing, sort of in middle school. But I also grew up in Olympia, which was like the epicenter of women in rock. And like I've said this before, but like being told that there were women in bands or that girls could play music was like being told that there was like food at the grocery store. It wasn't like a big deal, and I just always kind of thought it was something that I'd end up doing.
You're actually a fan of Courtney Love?
Old school. I just think that Live Through This was a really important record for me. I think it made me want to scream and kind of go nuts, and mission accomplished.
At what point did you discover you had this amazing voice?
I don't think I discovered it. I think I've just had to work really hard to sort of cultivate how I want to sound. I grew up doing theater too, and it was just like I started taking voice lessons when I was like 8, and then sort of got interested in opera and started studying that. And then you've got the band that happened around 14 or 15, and sort of experimenting with different noises and things that were appropriate for rock and roll.
Who came up with the name Schoolyard Heroes?
That name pre-existed our band. Jonah wanted to start a band. He was dedicated to this notion of being in a rock band, probably when he was about 17. And he came up with the name Schoolyard Heroes, and I was 14 and I was a freshman in high school and he was a senior, and we met and he was like, I'm going to start this band called Schoolyard Heroes. And I was like, I want to be in that band called Schoolyard Heroes. And I was the original guitar player. I'm actually not a guitar player at all. I faked it. I said that I could play guitar in order to attend the one practice as guitar player that didn't really go over very well at all.
Tell me about the school that you met the guys in.
We all went to a school called Charles Wright Academy.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of school is that?
It was a private school. It didn't have any sort of religious affiliation at all. It was just like a really small school.
Describe the personalities of the other band members.
They're all incredibly intelligent and warm and sweet. Jonah is the businessman and the sort of like evil genius. Brian, he was a journalism major, sort of a scientific intellectual brain that wants to figure everything out. And Steve is incredibly warm and sensitive, and I don't know why I want to say the word romantic.
Some of the highlights of the Funeral Science and Fantastic Wounds CDs.
Funeral Science was our first record, and I just think the experience of putting together that record and being in a real recording studio and you know, getting to choose album art and you know, just things like that. The details of it were so fun. It was so new, and it was incredible. And then the cool part about Fantastic Wounds was getting the second chance at that. Funeral Sciences was such a weird compilation of these noises that we were making, and we didn't really have our direction down pat quite yet. And then Fantastic Wounds, it got a little better, it got a little closer, and you just get to do it all over again and like work it a little bit better. And then Abominations, the new one, I think we finally figured it out exactly.
What was your parents' reaction? A 14-year-old girl, I mean, that's frightening to most parents. Oh, our 14-year-old daughter is going to be playing in this band.
Right. I think that I prepared my mom for the worst. I mean, when you're a 13-year-old girl that's obsessed with Courtney Love, I scared my mom. The reality of being in a band is much more tame, I think, than the ideas associated with being in a band. And these sort of expectations for this wild rock lifestyle. My mom loves what we do and is really proud, and I think everyone's parents are really proud.
What have you found to be the biggest misconception about you and your persona?
People might not perceive me as the most approachable person. I think that when you dance around in a tutu and then scream, you know, people kind of wonder, but it's just so much fun.
What do you love about the band Queen?
Oh my God, every single thing about them, every single thing. I love Freddie Mercury. I love how completely over the top that man is, but the fact that he can back it, his voice, his ability as a songwriter, everything. Just, they were so completely over the top and gorgeous in their way. That man's voice makes me want to cry every time. Every time.
Yeah, Freddie was the best.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Skeleton Army.
The Skeleton Army is a self-proclaimed group of kids that are from Seattle. That they call themselves that. We're from Seattle. We played a lot of shows, and all of a sudden our fans started calling themselves the Skeleton Army. And there were, like, people would meet up and, like, carpool the shows or like try to find each other at shows after having met over the forum and stuff like that. And it comes from one of our songs, which was Bury the Tooth of the Hydra and a Skeleton Army Will Arise, and which is a Jason and the Argonauts reference. And it's one of our favorite movies, and that is the Skeleton Army.
What inspired the song Cemetery Girls?
Cemetery Girls is based on a comic book called Why the Last Man, and it's about all the men dying and women. There's only one man. There's one man left, and then these women take over at sort of this apocalyptic period of Earth and lead, take over, and that's what it's about.
Wow. And so that all came from this comic book.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so sort of with interjections of quotes from Tex Watson during the Tate LaBianca murders, which is the I'm the devil and I've come to do the devil's work.
What does the word abominations mean to you?
Abominations, we chose that as a reflection of we'd always written our songs about horror movies, and they'd always been kind of dark, but this time there was a notion of humor involved. Abominations was sort of characterizing the fact that on this record we looked more towards human nature and the dark side of real people, and the idea of those people as abominations.
Plastic Surgery Hall of Fame.
It's the idea of people getting so much plastic surgery that they essentially don't look real, and that the idea that you set out to make yourself look more beautiful or more youthful and you end up just looking like a monster.
Cutting into your flesh
and sewing it back up and peeling it back and tightening your face and smiling through it, and, you know, thinking that you want that.
Tell me about Sarah Lewitton, also known as Ultra Girl. Now, how did she come into your life, and what's your relationship like with her, and how did you get your deal with Stolen Transmission?
Almost 3 years ago now, we were on tour with a band called Vendetta Red and another band called Nightmare View, and Sarah was just putting together the label, and her partner in the label suggested that she go out on tour and kind of see what that was like. So we were on that tour. She was really good friends with Nightmare View. She was riding in their van, and she really liked us. And it was right after our second record came out, and she was like, hey, I'm putting together a label, and I would love to hear what you guys put together next. So she and I became really good friends. We liked a lot of the same music, and we were like the only two girls on tour, and we just made really good friends and stayed in touch over 2 years. And then when we had the next record ready to go, she was one of the first people that we let hear it. So we'd been in close contact with her for a couple years before we signed with her and Stolen Transmission, and she's great. She is wonderful and smart and funny and adorable.
And very attractive.
Yeah, she is.
What do you love most about your life right now?
I like being in the van and getting out and carrying heavy things and getting dressed and going and yelling and screaming for a half an hour, and then hanging out. That's It's what I love to do. I love being at home and going to practice.
Well, Ryann, it's been great having you on the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show. Oh, that's a good handshake.
Do I have a good handshake?
Yeah, it's not the fish.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I'm not a fish.
This,
I don't know how to do this very well, but I'll go with,
and
you
then
can teach me.
Bam.
All right.
This is the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show with Ryann Donnelly of Schoolyard Heroes signing off.